Elon Musk doubles down and calls for the dissolution of the EU in his latest few posts in retaliation against the EU Commission that purported to fine X 120 million euros for various claims, among others, that the blue tick is somehow deceptive. A huge dose of irony and hypocrisy there, which I'll come back to in a moment. But also in this video, horrific crime statistics about Afghan nationals with their crimes against British citizens that are hitting the headlines and causing sweeping and very disturbing headlines across the nation in the last few days. But also later in the video, a teacher was reportedly banned for telling a Muslim child that Britain is a Christian country. Banned from the profession at least until the Free Speech Union got involved and overturned the ban. But the Free Speech Union also says that there are at least a dozen cases where teachers and others are being banned from their profession for having what some people term as right-wing views. More about that a little bit later, because there is a huge problem there in that holding those views and being discriminated against because of those views may well be a problem for those organizations. But first, Elon Musk. And while I'm pulling this up, please do subscribe to the channel and let's take a look at what Elon Musk is saying. And by the way, has the support of Donald Trump. He has recently been told about what's going on. Let's take a look here. So Elon Musk calls dissolve the EU and return power to the people. Now, as a general comment here, before I dive into the quoted articles, returning power to the people, I think, has some weight to it, because at the moment, you've probably heard a lot of stories where our judges, even in the UK, are applying ECHR to allow foreign criminals to stay here on various spurious claims. And this is not just me speaking out of turn here. We have various politicians and even ministers essentially saying the same thing, that our judges are applying the law in such a way that wasn't really intended and allowing these foreign criminals to stay here. Nonetheless, this is what Elon Musk is focusing on here. He says, dissolve the EU and return power to the people. He's saying this in response to various posts, this one, which is quoted here, where the EU is fining Hungary 1 million euros a day. Sounds a little bit ridiculous to me, because they don't let in enough Muslim or African migrants. And Jonathan Pallison here says we should go back to just having a free trade zone in Europe and not all this undemocratic bureaucracy. Now, there is some kind of truth there, actually, in that it's just a bunch of countries coming together to agree to various treaties and so on. And it is not exactly democratic in the same way as other countries might think that it is. And so per the article here, fines imposed by the European Union on Hungary for refusing to abandon its strict migration policy in order to comply with EU law exceeded 500 million euros in April. In June 2024, the European Court of Justice delivered a verdict in a long-running case against Hungary, ruling that the country must pay €200 million fine for failing to implement changes to its policy. And there's another post here by Elon Musk. The EU commissioners are responsible for the murder of Europe. He quote posted Martin Sellner here, who said, "Why I despise this EU. In 2013, the Italian Coast Guard had picked up 24 Africans on the high seas and returned them to Africa. With the help of an NGO, they sued Italy from an asylum camp in Libya and won their case before the ECHR. He says Italy had to pay them €360,000 and ship them to Europe. This was the starting point for the flood of illegals over the Med," he says. And whilst this article is from a few years ago, you can see where all this began. The European Court of Human Rights has ruled that Italy violated the rights of Eritrean and Somali migrants by sending them back to Libya. The 13 Eritreans and the 11 Somalis were among a group of about 200 people who left Libya on 3 boats in 2009. The court ordered Italy to pay each migrant in the case €15,000 in damages. The Grand Chamber judgment in the case found that the applicants had been exposed to the risk of ill treatment in Libya and of repatriation to Somalia or Eritrea. Now, here's a story that was kept relatively quiet, but is actually quite a big deal. Did you know that in June this year, 2025, HMRC lost £47 million of taxpayer money to scammers who were impersonating people? This wasn't some kind of sophisticated cybersecurity attack. These were scammers that had stolen the details of 100,000 people, posed as those people to HMRC in order to steal their money. Now, HMRC did make it clear that the money was taken fraudulently and it was stolen from HMRC rather than from the taxpayers, so the taxpayers themselves didn't lose out. Or did they? Because ultimately it was still £47 million of taxpayer money that was stolen using stolen ID and details and so forth. This is what we call a phishing attack, using someone's details to pose as that person to get some benefit as a result of that information. Now, the reason I'm telling you this is because I partner with companies on my channel here, one of whom is NordVPN, who protects you from these phishing attacks, from stealing your information, because these scammers will take enough of your information in order to pose as you. And these are very real threats. They took £47 million just in this one attack alone. NordVPN will help to protect you visiting websites and downloads and opening files that might pose as a phishing attempt to gather and steal your information, and they'll protect you from those on all your devices. You download it, you install it, it's very quick, and it is cheaper than the price of a cup of coffee. But speaking of the price, you get a great discount using my link in the description below, nordvpn.com/BBB, which will give you 4 months free extra on top of any deal they're already running and give you that peace of mind as your shield to protect you from identity theft, from people stealing your information on malicious websites and malicious downloads. So please don't hesitate. This does affect real people. Grab NordVPN with my discount link, nordvpn.com/BBB. I'll link it below. Go and sign up if you haven't already. It is an absolute must in today's era. But coming back to Elon Musk and his attack upon the European Commission, do you remember I said there was a little dose of irony and hypocrisy here? Well, this was a post or advert, if you like, from the European Commission that said, today we find X for non-compliance with transparency obligations under the DSA. We're holding X accountable for deceptive design of its blue checkmark. And then it posted a video underneath talking about the fine. Now, the reason this is ironic and a little bit of a hypocrisy is because this video is in fact a link that leads back to the European Commission website. But that deception didn't go unnoticed. Nikita Beer, who works for X, then banned the European Commission ad account with the following post. The irony of your announcement. You logged into your dormant ad account to take advantage of an exploit in our ad composer, to post a link that deceives users into thinking it's a video to artificially increase its reach. As you may be aware, X believes everyone should have an equal voice on our platform. However, it seems you believe the rules should not apply to your account. Your ad account has been terminated. So now back to some of the headlines, and the nation is furious. I genuinely believe we have reached a point of national emergency. It is no secret that illegal migration is a hot political topic, particularly when those illegal migrants are attacking and assaulting our citizens. The news is full. You don't need my video to see all of the headlines and what's going on, most of which I won't repeat here, save to reference them, and you can check them out for yourselves. But some of the comments by one of the barristers and some of the news comments are just awful. And as Patrick Christie's put it here, if the truth is so awful that it might cause public unrest, the solution is to sort the problem out, not hide it from us and hope that we never find out. Patrick Christie's was reacting to the horrendous story of 2 illegal boat migrants found guilty of a teenage girl, after one of the barristers said that the footage captured by her on her mobile phone of the attack was so horrendous that it would cause a public riot if the public saw the footage. But then when it comes to details and data, I personally think that we are entitled to know the truth, the details, and the specifics of the risk that we face from illegal migration. Have a listen to this.
It is extremely difficult to get the data. There has, for many, many years, been a reluctance by the court system and the authorities and the prosecution service, the police, the government, you name it, to release any kind of data. We know from recent data by the Ministry of Defence, obtained by the Telegraph for a Freedom of Information request, that Afghans are 22 times more likely to commit sex crimes than British citizens.
And not only that, the lawyers for the two are also reportedly trying to use ECHR rules to allow them to stay here and even build a life here. And that is after what I think is some trickery and technicalities to avoid the automatic deportation. Listen to the first segment of this video.
It's very interesting the way this case has been dealt with by the authorities, in that there seems to me of some kind of deal that's been done between the defence lawyers and the prosecution service, He was 16 at the time of the offence, about to turn 17. Had he entered a guilty plea or been convicted when either of them were 17 years old, there would have been automatic deportation. He actually entered his guilty plea the day before he was 17, thereby avoiding the automatic deportation.
Now, he may still be deported, but again, I think that these are just technicalities, and I think we really do need to face the reality of the risks that we face and that this is a national emergency. And finally for this video, this was the story that I was talking about where the teacher was banned from the profession after telling a Muslim child that Britain is a Christian country. Now, there is a little bit more to this, as always, but not to the extent, in my view, that the teacher should have been punished or certainly not banned from the profession for it. This latest case apparently stemmed from an incident where the teacher had told off the students for washing their feet in the sinks in the boys' lavatories. The police were even called in to investigate an alleged hate crime. According to one of the children who made the complaint, this teacher had told them that the school was not a religious one and that there was an Islamic school a mile away if they wanted to go there instead. The teacher then reportedly told them that Britain is still a Christian state, pointing out that the king was the head of the Church of England. The teacher was suspended, sacked, and then banned from working with children as a result of this incident, which effectively banned him from the profession. At least until he enlisted the support of Free Speech Union. They've thus far overturned the ban and is currently now suing the local authority with the assistance of Free Speech Union. So not a sponsored portion of this video, but if you value your free speech, I would suggest you join Free Speech Union, whose membership has exploded over the last year or two for obvious reasons. I am a gold member of Free Speech Union with my own money, not a sponsored mention. I would suggest that you go and join. So I think we've reached a point where so many people are being punished for having views or expressing views, all at the same time. We are not, in my view, protecting our own citizens because ECHR is preventing us from removing those who are committing these offences against our citizens. These are just raw facts. So let me know what you think about that in the comments below. Politely and respectfully, please bear in mind what's going on recently. And as always, thank you for watching.